Trump said it himself. On Saturday, March 14th, on Truth Social, in capital letters, the United States of America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both militarily, economically, and in every other way. 40 minutes later, on the same platform, he wrote this: "The countries of the world that receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage, and we will help a lot." Read those two statements back to back, slowly, because the second sentence makes the first one impossible. A country that has completely decimated its enemy in every way does not ask other nations to secure a waterway the enemy is still controlling. A military that has destroyed 100% of Iran's capability, Trump's own words, 100%, does not tell France, China, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom to please send warships. You do not ask for help with a problem you have already solved. This is the central contradiction of Day 15 of Operation Epic Fury. And it is not a messaging problem. It is a strategic problem. The gap between what Trump is saying and what the United States military is actually doing reveals something that no press conference, no Truth Social post, and no Pentagon briefing has been willing to state plainly. The most powerful military in the world cannot reopen a waterway that a country it has totally defeated is still closing. Here is the confirmed sequence of events over the last 48 hours that makes this contradiction visible in concrete terms. On Friday night, the United States struck Karg Island. 90 military targets confirmed destroyed by CENTCOM. Karg handles approximately 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. Trump called it one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East. He announced it personally. He left the oil infrastructure intact, explicitly, and issued a direct threat: open the strait or the oil infrastructure is next. Iran's response came within hours. The IRGC threatened retaliatory strikes on UAE cities, claiming American attacks had been launched from UAE territory. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, vowed to strike any energy infrastructure tied to American companies across the region, and Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, in his first public statement since assuming power, confirmed one thing clearly: the Strait of Hormuz stays closed. Saturday morning, Trump asked China, France, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom to send warships. Neither China nor the United Kingdom confirmed they would do so. CNN asked both directly. Neither responded with a yes. That non-response is the signal. Because here is what CNN also confirmed on Saturday, citing people familiar with internal deliberations. The U.S. Navy has been turning down requests from oil industry representatives for tanker escorts every single day. Not because the request is unreasonable, because the strait is still too dangerous even for U.S. military vessels. Officials told CNN that Navy warships are needed elsewhere. The reality is simpler. Sending destroyers into a corridor where Iran is still dropping mines, launching coastal missiles, and deploying drone boats means accepting losses. And losses in a strait that Trump has declared victory over would be the most damaging possible confirmation that the victory was not real. But that is not the real pressure point. The real pressure point is what this decision reveals about the strategic trap the United States has built for itself over 15 days. Iran does not need to win this conflict to win this conflict. Iran's strategy from the beginning has not been to defeat the United States militarily. It has been to make the Strait of Hormuz too costly to ignore and too dangerous to force open, and then to wait. Every day that oil tankers sit anchored outside the strait, every day that Brent crude holds above $100, every day that gas at the American pump edges higher is a day that the domestic political cost of this operation increases. The national average for gas in the United States hit $3.67 on March 14th, a 22-month high, confirmed by the waterway. Trump told NBC News on Saturday that he expects gas prices to go lower than they were before the war. He said he was not concerned at all about how gas prices could affect the midterm elections. When a president volunteers that he's not concerned about something, he is concerned about it. Here is where the analysis becomes more complex. Because the Hormuz problem is not just a military problem, it is a definitional problem that the administration has not resolved and cannot resolve without contradiction. Trump has said there will be no deal except unconditional surrender. He said it on Truth Social, confirmed by Reuters. He said it again on Saturday when he told NBC the terms of any deal have to be very solid and that current proposals are unacceptable. Iran's foreign minister Araghchi said talks are off the table. Two Iranian sources told Reuters that Tehran has no interest in peace discussions at this time. Both sides are publicly committed to continuation. But Karg Island was a signal, not a destruction. Trump left the oil infrastructure intact deliberately. CENTCOM confirmed it. The strike destroyed naval mine storage facilities and missile bunkers, military targets, while explicitly preserving the refining and export infrastructure. That is not a total war decision. That is a leverage decision. You preserve the thing you want to use as a threat. You do not destroy your own bargaining chip. So Trump is simultaneously claiming total victory, demanding unconditional surrender, Asking allies to help open a waterway he says is already controlled, and visibly preserving the economic leverage he would only need if he expected to negotiate. These four positions cannot all be true at the same time. What most coverage misses entirely is this. The contradiction is not a communication failure. It is the visible surface of an endgame problem that has existed since February 28th and has never been resolved. What does winning actually look like? CSIS identified 4 military objectives and 1 political objective in Operation Epic Fury: nuclear prevention, missile destruction, proxy degradation, naval interdiction, and regime change from within. CNN confirmed on Saturday, citing more than half a dozen people familiar with internal deliberations, that 2 weeks in, the administration is no closer to articulating a defined strategy for finishing this conflict. Lawmakers who were briefed by the administration said they heard no distinct endgame. The goals keep shifting, the metrics keep moving, and the Strait of Hormuz sits there, effectively closed, costing the global economy approximately $891 million per day in operational costs, the CSIS confirmed figure, while the administration asks France and China to please send ships. The Nimitz decision today adds another data point to this picture. The USS Nimitz, the oldest active aircraft carrier in the U.S. Navy, was scheduled to be decommissioned in May 2026. It has been retained, extended, kept in service because the carrier demand created by this conflict exceeds what was planned. That is not a sign of an operation that is ahead of schedule. That is a sign of an operation whose resource requirements have outgrown its original assumptions. Iran's foreign minister said something on Saturday that deserves precise attention. He said the strait is not closed to everyone. It is closed to American and Israeli ships and tankers, not to others. 2 Indian LPG tankers have already passed through. Iran's ambassador to India confirmed it. India is in active diplomatic talks with Tehran to secure passage for 22 additional vessels. China's discounted Iranian oil has been flowing throughout this conflict. The strait is not closed, it is selectively closed. And the selectivity is the strategy. Iran is demonstrating that it can function as the gatekeeper of the world's most critical energy corridor, deciding who passes and who does not, while the United States, having claimed total victory, asks France and South Korea to help it regain access. 3 indicators to watch in the next 72 hours. Whether any ally publicly confirms sending warships to Hormuz in response to Trump's request. China, the UK, France, Japan, and South Korea have all been named. None have said yes. If none do, Trump's claim of a coalition becomes a unilateral American problem dressed in multilateral language. If one does, watch which country, because a Chinese warship in Hormuz under an American-requested mission would be the most strategically significant naval development of this entire conflict. Whether Trump orders strikes on Kharg Island's oil infrastructure. He telegraphed it explicitly. Open the strait, or the oil infrastructure is next. If Iran does not open the strait and Trump does not strike the infrastructure, the threat loses credibility and Iran has called the bluff. If Trump does strike, Brent crude moves above $130, Iran retaliates against Gulf energy infrastructure, and the economic damage the operation was supposed to prevent accelerates. And whether Congress forces a war powers vote. More than 250 U.S. organizations have signed a letter demanding Congress halt war funding. Democrats have filed a war powers resolution. The operation has now cost over $15 billion with no congressional authorization. The domestic political pressure is building faster than the military situation is resolving. Iran is totally defeated. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The U.S. Navy cannot escort tankers through it. Allies have been asked for help. Gas prices are at a 22-month high. And the terms of any deal are unacceptable. All of those statements are confirmed. All of them are true simultaneously, and none of them point in the same direction. That is not a war plan. That is 15 days of the most powerful military in the world discovering that total military victory and strategic success are not the same thing. And the Strait of Hormuz is where that gap is now visible to every government, every energy market, and every naval planning staff on Earth. Watch the ships that are not moving. They are telling you more than the bombs that are falling.